Hello everybody and welcome back to another playing commentary of Samurai Jack Season 1 Episode 5 as per usual, outro there. Yeah, it's been quite a while due to my delayed productions right now, but I'm quite excited to continue as the story will continue moving forward and being more interesting and more intricate, and it probably will have more, shall we say, more inclination for more impressive battles. I don't know exactly what will happen, but I'm rather excited for it. So, yeah, I'm gonna just delay this for a few seconds here still. The previous episode was not as full of battles as it could have been, and I wouldn't exactly call this a series focused on battles, but very few series are just completely full-blown battle series. But it's still pretty nice. So, let's just get on with the show without further ado. I still do prefer for it to have some action in it. It will keep it interesting. Well, I must say, okay, I'm already gonna pause here for a little short notice because I've been paying attention quite a bit to just cartoon and animation budgets and where the money usually goes. It's quite nice to see, like, this looks rather simplistic on first glance, this kind of scenery here, which is, no, it looks pretty basic and all that kind of fun stuff, and they usually have these kinds of rather simplistic backgrounds and all that, but if you take a closer look at it, it actually has quite a lot of detail put into it. It's an interesting detail there that it looks very, shall we say, kind of bland, but it still has a lot of details to it, so it's an interesting sort of art style there. Though I do actually kind of like it. It gives it a bit more dramatic look, which is quite fitting for the show. Oh, I do also like that Jack wasn't just a little sprite there that was moved along, but that he was actually animated to move there, even if slightly. Well, before we actually step on the action scene, I'll actually give a little comment here, because there was actually a rather interesting note there, that is, that there are actually humans who have escaped, and they are not completely, all of them are not enslaved, and that the Earth is not completely just overrun by alien life forms. It's interesting that there are still possibilities for humans to escape like that, though I wonder how many of them have escaped, and maybe they could perhaps rally together and form a rebellion and try to do something against Aku if more of them escape. It's possible. That's even kind of a likely scenario. Whatever, let's just continue. It's Jack. Why exactly do they have helmets on again?
Easy for you to say. You were just a baby when the rest of us were forced to use our scientific knowledge to build Aku's robot armies and other evil technology.
Sweet. Very, very nice little exposition piece there. Completely didn't stick out like a sore thumb. But it is effective. It is at the very least exposition.
Age is irrelevant here. We shouldn't just give up. We still have a chance. Well, actually, there is substance to that theory.
Well, no one can do that. Let us surrender.
Okay.
The odds are promising. It's only 5,437 to 1.
Yes! This is...
I mean, that did increase their chances by like almost 80-fold or something. Can I remember the numbers correctly? Probably not. That's quite an increase.
On one hand, we have to trust a stranger to battle for the fate of our future. On the other hand, the inevitable capture by Aku and a lifetime of slavery. I say we give the stranger a shot.
Actually, that's isn't that a false choice there? Like, you won't lose anyway. So, it's like, there's nothing to lose. Either you surrender now or you surrender later. Or you get captured now or you get captured and Jack gets killed. It's unlikely that Jack is actually even like. It's unlikely that Jack would be like. Why would Aku send Jack as a spy or of some sorts? You know. So why would they not trust him? They have nothing to lose here.
Yes!
Well.
Still, Jack. This won't take long.
That's not a... Okay.
Okie dokie, we're ready to go.
Oh, okay. I was just like, did they strap a rocket to him and hope that he would be able to control it with nothing? Also, just strapping a rocket to someone seems fairly dangerous. Oh
Everything
boy.
looks good. Let me explain your hand guidance control system.
Wait, did I see that? Did I actually see that right? Let me go back a bit. Are those two in the same pod? Same suit? That seems rather perverted.
Go home.
We'll finally be able to use our science for good.
No more protection against the polluted air.
No more Aku robots.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, Monaco.
Oh, actually, is the air polluted? Does that mean that Jack has been inhaling poison this whole time? Or pollution? Also, a freed colony of humans could be rather useful, but they would have to escape pretty much immediately, because otherwise, you know, they can just send in wave after wave until they finally submit.
Home.
Awfully long screen there. Okay, this is a pretty good time to point out here. It's pretty clear how they are doing, like how easily this episodic structure here is formed, because almost half of the episode, the starting half is always meant for setup for basically the setting up for the finals or the climax of the episode for the battle. It's a rather a clear two-part structure to these episodes, which is fine enough, and with the 20 minutes it's more than enough to fill both of those parts with interesting bits. And it's not like the first part is bad, because of course it passed by without me even noticing, but it's just rather clear that this kind of structuring is the simplest way to produce even episodes, because a lot of the episodes so far have followed it, although this is just the 5th episode, and of course there are minute differences and all that, but yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, it wouldn't be surprising if Aku's, shall we say, rebellion extermination methods would be so drastic as to leave them stranded in space, or, you know, destroy a spaceship so that they will die in it, because that's a rather cruel way to go.
Us at this speed are 325 to 1.
I cannot take that chance.
But you'll never make it back in time.
Actually, okay, this was actually the other option, other than that time warp not working. But actually, how exactly would, like, I'm just saying, oh god, what was I thinking about here? Why wouldn't they actually just brake? Couldn't they stop ignition and just wait a bit more for Jackie? Like, I mean, most ignition rockets still do have 2 stages to them, and that they can be stopped at most moments, so... or at the very least their thrust could be lessened. Although if they activated retro rockets... Oh, never mind, that just completely defeats my point here. Oh well. I mean, I still think that wouldn't have sent him back to the past. In the very distant future, maybe, but no. Oh well, unimportant. Can that suit hold atmospheric... Yeah. Atmospheric entry? I mean... Jack would still be really dead from that, so... That's not how kinetic energy works, but whatever. And then there's of course nothing in the end, right? Yeah, no. Okay then. Outro. Well, there's quite a few things that could be said about this episode, but actually one of the key aspects that came to my mind about the show that's now rather solidified is that a lot of Aku's robots are clearly based on animals. I mean, that was rather obvious already, but this just confirms it that they are pretty much just robotic animals. Even with their instinctual behaviors, maybe even. Because they do seem to be, at some point, some margin of sentient. They have some sentience to them, most likely. As they were kind of afraid of Jack, or possibly afraid, unless they got the retreat command to form that gun. Which is the more likely scenario, but whatever. It is a rather interesting point that Aku still actually wants to have robotic animals. Or base his robots on animals. Because that seems like a huge problem there, but clearly they work, so... Yeah, it's a rather interesting point about that. Now this episode I don't have much to say. I do really like that we got to see a space battle. Or, you know, a sword fight in space. Just floating in space. With a freaking jetpack and a space suit. That was really nice. That was something I was expecting the show to have at some point. But I was not actually expecting it to do it already. Nonetheless, it is quite good. It was done quite nicely. Now, as I mentioned in the episode as well, it is rather clear that the show does follow or the episodes do follow a two-part structure, which is not bad. And it's pretty nice that the first half of the episode is just dedicated to a setup, and the second half is dedicated to just, you know, resolving the conflict that arises. And that's just, it's simple, it's easily translatable to the, shall we say, animated media, and it's a simple, effective way to structure stories, and it clearly does support the show, as it has numerous others, so I don't have much to say about that. I don't exactly know, like, whether Jack, what I think about the possibility that he was offered the time travel there, because if they start having multiple possibilities of him having, or opportunities where he will be offered the chance to go back to past and he has to just abandon that possibility, that is actually going to be rather annoying. But if he just has to struggle to find new ways for that, if he tries some ways that fail, that will be interesting. It would be rather interesting if in the future there will be some kind of that he will find a time machine, or something similar to what he was proposed in this episode. He takes that and tries to go back to the past, but instead ends up a bit more in the future, where Jack is kind of heralded as an underground hero. Kind of a legend, as it were. That would be rather nice. I would like that kind of little switch up there. Though, as unlikely as that is, but it is a possibility. I don't know. I just generally... It's odd that he was offered this kind of escape already. And I still think that it was unlikely that it would have worked, but yeah, time travel. Whatever. It's a minor gripe. It is pretty nice still. One thing I do want to mention is that even though it is a rather simplistic art style and the animation is pretty simple, of course there's not that many details in the character designs themselves. And when I'm talking about details, I'm talking about a bit more more intact structures, a lot more, well, more details, just basically. That doesn't mean that the show doesn't have details in and of itself, because the episodes or the backgrounds and the animation, all that, they are very detailed. There's a lot of little nice details in the show, of course. Although because they use basically just huge blocks to color those the character designs, it's not bad, but it creates distinct characters or distinct creatures, which is also pretty nice. It's an easy way to distinguish them from the background, and it saves on budget. Yeah, that's about all I have. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope to see you in the future. Have a great day and stay awesome. Gunmu out. Thank you very much.